What is the Zelda formula? Since Zelda Wii U is just around the corner, or at least trailers of the game will come out at E3, I thought it would do well to analyze what are Zelda conventions to build up hype. Really looking forward to E3 by the way. Anyways, challenging conventions is a topic that has been focused by Zelda creator Eiji Aonuma. In fact, in the very first trailer of Zelda Wii U, he emphasized that this new project would break some norms. Now, what exactly did he mean by that? Well, in the trailer, Aonuma stated that he would like to make a world that wouldn't be bound by a set pathway, to make an overworld in a somewhat similar vein as Zelda 1, but apply it to a 3D environment. In other words, going on a set path in terms of level progression became a bit of a norm in most recent Zelda games. This is one convention that Aonuma desires to challenge, but that is only one aspect of Zelda games we see today. That brings to the question, what exactly is the Zelda formula? Well, to me at least, there really isn't a definitive Zelda formula in which all Zelda games abide by. Really, the closest thing to a Zelda formula we have is just Link exploring dungeons and saving whatever land he is in. But this concept is approached in diverse ways across the Zelda series. For example, Majora's Mask only had 4 dungeons, but it made efficient use of the overworld to flesh out characters. Or Wind Waker, where it implemented the ceiling mechanic. Both games still have exploring dungeons in a Zelda-esque manner, but they approach that aspect in different ways. But how did the Zelda series start out? Well, let's talk about a little something called Zelda 1. On a side note, I think this game needs a remake the most. This game is actually one of my favorite in the series. But anyways, Zelda 1 is extremely bare bones. You just start off in the middle of Hyrule, with no direction and no guidance. You were basically left to your own devices. Come to think of it, it kind of played like Metroid in terms of how you started out. But moving on. Level progression in Zelda 1 wasn't really on a set path. Heck, you can complete dungeons out of order and without a sword. Seriously, that still impresses me. But then later on, we had Zelda 2, which took the series into a whole different direction. This game incorporated RPG elements and really amped up the difficulty. I want to say Zelda 2 is the most difficult game in the series as a result. You could argue that Zelda as a series was still trying to establish an identity at this point. It wasn't until A Link to the Past came out that really solidified what we call Zelda. It greatly expanded Zelda 1's concepts to the nth degree. Plus, you can go in any dungeon in any order once you get across the first 3. However, later games would sacrifice non-linearity for story building. Ocarina of Time started this trend. I love the game to death, but I can't deny that the game is very much on a set course in terms of game progression. Majora's Mask would follow this as well, but it handled it differently. The heart of Majora's Mask lays in its side quests, and you could tackle them in a non-linear way. To me at least, Aonuma wants to bring back non-linearity in the Zelda series to shake it up. We have seen hints of this within Link Between Worlds, which took a unique approach when it came to collecting items. And of course, its game's progression. Like A Link to the Past, you can't tackle dungeons in any order. In other words, Aonuma wants to continuously evolve the Zelda series, to constantly innovate. An interview with the man himself alludes to this. Something that is traditional is in the sense often something that copies previous works. So if you continue doing that, it gradually takes away from its uniqueness. So we're currently working on making those parts more and more unique. So what does this have to say for Zelda Wii U? Perhaps the game exemplifies Aonuma's statement to constantly evolve the Zelda series. Perhaps it will take these concepts of non-linearity and deliver it in an open world. This concept has been pushed by both Aonuma and Miyamoto, though Miyamoto would have some reservations when saying the term open world. During an interview with him, he had this to say regarding the topic. I prefer not to use the generally used term open world when developing software. But we use this term in order to make it easier for consumers to understand. This term means that there is a large world in which players can do numerous things daily. So in Miyamoto's view at least, an open world is a large dynamic one. If I can point to any similarities to other Zelda games, I would go to Majora's Mask, where you can do similar things. And considering that Majora's Mask 3D was in development while Zelda Wii U was, then maybe the game is taking some aspects from it. In fact, Eiji Aonuma did say that he's taking inspiration from multiple Zelda games. So what does this mean in terms of challenging Zelda conventions? Maybe both Aonuma and Miyamoto are looking at the Zelda series in a very general lens, and they are making a conscious decision to take it to a different direction. In this case, it would be non-linearity in a vast world. So what is the Zelda formula? Well, I am not sure if there is one. Each Zelda game is unique that brings its own flair to the table. Of course, they are similar in the sense that all games have exploration and puzzle solving, but largely, each Zelda title has its own character. Maybe Zelda Wii U will be a love letter to fans, in which it will take a lot of aspects from other games and present it in a neat package. But what do you guys think? I asked around Twitter to see what you guys want in Zelda Wii U, and I got some great answers to that question. One comes from @Coob4X, who said voice acting, and I am completely up for it if the voice acting is done right. If there is great voice acting, then I think that would be really refreshing for the entire Zelda series actually. @AngusVGM says, alternate costumes, which sounds pretty neat, or to have Link be able to wear different outfits in general. Triforce Heroes kind of started it and it became instant meme fuel on the internet. @KSKisper says, I would like to see Epona as Link's full inventory. That way as Link you decide what items you want to bring with you. I really love this concept since I think it is likely. Epona looks pretty rigged out in the trailers. A lot of people are calling Epona in Zelda Wii U to be similar to how sailing would work in Wind Waker, but of course being more fleshed out. And lastly we have @AsrielMemer, I hope I pronounced that right, who wants a deep story that doesn't affect the quality of the gameplay. In other words, a balance between gameplay and story. This is very interesting since maybe this is something Aonuma wants to do, to reconcile the differences between non-linear gameplay with a coherent story. Maybe this will be shown off when E3 comes around, and E3 2016 is just around the corner. We will actually have more to say about the game aside from the few trailers we have on it. Come to think of it, people have been talking about a game with no name that only had 3 trailers for months now. Well, at least it will stop soon. My biggest hope is that we will actually get a name for Zelda Wii U at E3. But what do you guys think? What are Zelda conventions and what direction is Aonuma and Miyamoto going for? Anyways, I'm gonna have to be heading out. In fact, a lot of this was not really scripted, I just kinda went into a mic and just let do. Really looking forward to E3, hopefully Nintendo goes all out. But anyways, hope you all the best, love you guys, and take care.